Yes, I think we are live now.
Hmm. Hello, hello everyone. Can someone just confirm that they can hear me, see me fine?
I am with, yeah, I think I see thumbs up. I can also see yes in the chat. I think everybody is able to hear you, Rati.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Okay, so hello everyone. Welcome to this live demonstration of Paperpal's AI Toolkit. We're very glad you could join us today, and I hope you've been having a really good time at the peer review week. I myself have really enjoyed certain talks and have been really amazed to see how AI has been adopted and amazed at the speed of adoption. In this very fast evolving space of AI tools, though, one of the biggest challenges for us researchers isn't just using them, but really understanding them, knowing which tools to trust, how accurate they are, how can we use them efficiently and responsibly, and whether they're truly built for the academic work that we are doing. That's why we've been working on this demonstration, on this toolkit, basically designed with all these needs in mind. Paperpal, powered by Editage's 20 plus years of academic editing and publishing support, is an AI toolkit built specifically for researchers. And today we want to give you a glimpse of what it can do, not just in theory, but in practice. And with that, let's start with introductions. I'm Riddhi Shah, and I'll be your moderator for this session. A bit about me: I began my career as a researcher, probably as many of you. Eventually, I took up roles in publishing and operations before moving into PaperPal's product development team, where my focus is on making the toolkit more accessible and genuinely useful for academics like you. I'm joined today by Shardul Nair. Hi, Shardul,
Hi, everyone.
who is also part of PaperPal's core development team. Shardul has been very closely involved in building and refining features at PaperPal, and he's been an expert in understanding the real needs that academics like you need. So he will be taking us through the live demo, showing exactly how PaperPal can support our writing and reviewing process. Before we begin, just a quick points, a few points to help you get most of this session. Um, on the side of your on the right side of your screen, you will see the chat window. We'd love for you to stay active there, share your thoughts, engage. We have an excellent team who's ready to help you with any quick questions that you have. You will also see a Q&A panel. Please definitely post your questions there. We encourage you to use the Q&A session for the very specific questions you have and you'd like us to answer, so we can track them and address them properly during the Q&A section. So yeah, we also recommend that you watch in full screen and use headphones to get the best experience out of this demo. So yeah, with that, let's dive in. I'll hand over to Shardul to take us through PaperPal in action.
Thank you, Rati. I am just going to share my screen right now. So is everyone able to see my screen, hear me clearly, and the font size on the screen, everything is appropriate? If someone can give me a thumbs up and confirmation. I'm assuming, yeah, all right. That's it. Awesome. So, hi everyone. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon. I saw a lot of locations in the chat. I really appreciate you all joining today with us in this webinar on PaperPal, on how you can effectively utilize PaperPal in your research writing process. and how to make the best use of Paperpal in your writing process. So before diving into Paperpal, just some quick introduction that I would like to give you all. Just 1 second. So most of you all might be researchers, maybe early career researchers, maybe already established researchers. And so I will not do, let's say, a deep dive into what constitutes a research process, besides the fact that your research process itself is complex, it is comprehensive. There are multiple pieces, and in each of those pieces, the role that you play, the kind of task that you undertake to satisfy those particular piece, they are going to be different. And in such a world where AI has suddenly surged, so having a tool that can basically provide you with the support, basically an end-to-end support through an ecosystem of, let's say, features and solutions, that comes really handy. And that is exactly what Paperpal is. So for example, if you're starting with your research just from the state of a blank page, if you're writing, you want some assistance continuing that writing process, or if you already have written content, if you've already written your manuscript, your draft, and you want some assistance, to maybe polish it further, to refine it further, or maybe you are at a stage where everything is done, maybe you want a couple of pre-submission checks. So irrespective of what stage of your research writing process you might be in, Paperpal can support you for each of these stages, whether it's source solutions and its features. And needless to say, Paperpal is also accessible across multiple different platforms. So those of you who are familiar with Paperpal might already be using it in multiple platforms. But those of you who are new to Paperpal, well, Paperpal is available where you are writing. So if you're somebody who prefers MS Word, you want to continue that writing in MS Word, or if maybe you might be into, let's say, the engineering or the mathematics field, you must be using a lot of Overleaf for LaTeX writing, or you prefer the collaborative features of Google Docs, or simply use the web browser of Paperpal. So Paperpal is present at each and every one of these locations. And what will we learn today from the session? Now, in the hour and a half that remains, I will try my best to make sure that you find the value in this particular session. And I will do my best to convey that, okay, how do you extract the best value out of Paperpal? How do you use the features effectively such that your use cases, your problems are solved? How the different ecosystem of features can be used at different stages interchangeably in your writing process, in your text extraction, text refinement process. And thirdly, and slightly more important, how do you ethically and responsibly use AI? This is primarily because we are living in a world, in an era where there is no dearth of any AI tool. Like wherever you look, there is an AI tool coming up which technically will claim that, okay, it can do anything and everything for you. So in such a fast-paced, fast evolving world, how do you stay ethical? How do you stay responsible while also enjoying the benefits of AI? And lastly, we'll conclude it with a Q&A session. But even in the middle of the session, I will be taking a break and taking a bunch of questions. So don't worry about your questions being left unanswered. So please drop them in the Q&A section. And with that, let us begin officially. So Paperpal is a very all-encompassing, comprehensive ecosystem of solution. And that's how I wish to look, or that's how I want you all to look at Paperpal rather than a single solution solving for a single problem. So for example, Paperpal can solve your language and grammar correction problems. It has AI-powered features that help you with AI writing. It can help you get reference-backed answers to your questions through academic corpuses. You can extract insights from PDF using the chat with PDF solutions. You can do a self-check for plagiarism, even let's say you're at a stage where you are about to submit your paper to a journal. And it has the regular polishing features which it can use to refine and improve upon your text. So jumping right in, once you log into Paperpal and you create a new document, this is what your interface will look like. Now, many of you might have trouble beginning how to write. So the problem of a blank slate or a blank page, now how do I overcome that? Now, I have read a lot of papers, all the ideas are there in my head, but how do I translate all of those ideas into coherent sentences in the form of text onto a document? So that's where most of us face the hurdle. And even at that stage, for example, Paperpal provides with a lot of options over here. So you can try out any one of these options. You can either create an outline, which is basically a structured outline for a research paper, for a case study, for a systematic review, a narrative review, or you can maybe start playing around with the AI tools and then use it effectively. So let me show you the different processes that you can follow, especially when you're just beginning your writing process. So let us say I want to create an outline. Maybe I'll begin with an outline because that seems a safer bet for me because I'm writing a research paper. Now, on Paperpal's interface, if you're using the web browser, you will have access to the features maybe in the editor over here in the form of buttons present in the document, or when you press the backslash command, you will have access to all the AI powered features and the list of features over here. Alternatively, you can also have access to all the features from the right sidebar over here. So when I'm writing, I want complete focus and attention, no distraction. I can simply close it. But when I want to access a particular feature on web, I can simply click on any one of the feature and that will open up. Conversely, if you're using Paperpal for Word, so your right, the extension itself will be present and the right sidebar over here. So all your experience is going to be limited to the right hand side. So that said, if I want to begin by starting with an outline, so I can either click on an outline or I can go to templates where I will find a bunch of features and one of them is an outlines feature. So with outline, I can think of outlines as beginning with something that is structured. So rather than asking the AI that, okay, sometimes we might have this tendency that because GPT and the other AI tools, they are really good, we might have this tendency to go and tell the AI, write a paper for me, or just, draft an entire literature, write an entire essay for me. While AI can do that, should you do it? I would say no, especially when you're doing something research oriented, something academic oriented. It's always good to be in control of what you are writing, what is the output that you want, and what is the story that you are trying to say. So, the first step towards that would be, let's say, by creating a good outline. I can go to outline, I can click on any one of the article types that I have over here. Or if my article type is not there, I can specify whatever article type that I want. So for let's say I'll go ahead and select research article. So I say social sciences. The subject area can be broad or it can be very, very specific, something very niche. The AI will be smart enough to understand that. Now, in this particular section, I can provide a brief description of my study. If I am beginning from the absolute scratch, I may not have a lot of notes. I might not have made any literature matrix or handwritten notes or any such thing. So, in that case, you can simply ask the AI to give you an outline based on a particular topic, and the AI will provide you with that. The other option, the more safer, the more personalized way of generating an outline would be by providing your notes. So if you're someone who's already done a bunch of reading, you have some reference files with you, you have, let's say, a reference paper, or even, for example, if you don't have any references, but you want the outline to be in the form of a particular guideline, let's say a journal guideline, so you can simply attach that notes over here. Now let me show you what that looks like. For example, I'll click on this and just give me 1 second. I am going to get to my folder where I have all the content with me. That's quite a lot of folders for even for me. All right. So here I have a bunch of notes. I might have an Excel sheet. The Excel sheet is basically the content that I have exported from my Zotero library. So whatever references that you have in a Zotero, if you export it as a CSV or as an Excel, so you will find that you get all the comprehensive information of that content or the paper in the form of an Excel. Even that can be a good starting place. Alternatively, if you have made some notes for your paper, for your research, you can use that as a starting point. Or as I mentioned earlier, if you want the output to be in the IMRAD format, but something more specific, for example, to follow the Prisma guidelines, for example, I can provide this. And here I can describe to the AI what exactly I'm looking for in my outline. So for example, I can tell the AI something like, give me an outline on climate change and mental health, adhere to Prisma guidelines, and maybe I'll provide some more information over here, especially impact on children, something like this. Now, the moment you attach a file, the AI is smart enough to understand that, okay, you have attached a file. If it's a reference notes, it will use that content, generate and personalize that outline. If it's a guidelines document, it will read that particular document and then provide you with an output that adheres to the guideline over here. So in this case, you can see that, okay, it is giving me an outline in the form of a Prisma notes over here. So I'll allow it to generate that output. And here it is done. So once the output is generated, I can read it, I can review it. If I'm not happy, I can go ahead and give it a retry. The AI will try to generate another output using the same content. Or if I'm happy, I can simply insert that into my document over here. And let me, for the sake of example, say that, okay, I'm okay with this output. I read it, I review it. I find that this is good enough as a starting point for me. Now, this is one way I can begin by creating an outline. But what if, let's say, I want another way, something more flexible to use, especially when I'm beginning from let's say, a starting point. So in that case, you can simply go to the write feature in Paperpal, or if you're on the web version, simply press the / command and maybe ask the AI over here, what exactly do you want? So for example, if you want an outline on a topic, you can provide that question and the AI will generate an output. But is that the best approach? Not entirely. The reason is when you ask an AI just a question like give me an outline or give me something, the AI will give you that information based on its training data. It is not going to be personalized. It does not know what exactly is it that you are looking for. So either you provide the AI with a lot of information, or as I mentioned earlier, you can attach a bunch of files over here. So for example, you can either attach a PDF, you can attach a docx, an Excel sheet, a CSV, even images for that matter. So for example, let me say I'm going to attach the Zotero CSV or an Excel sheet that I had gotten by exporting all the content from Zotero. So I can attach this over here, and then I can ask the AI again so to give me outline for the topic, uh, outline for an introduction section for the topic mentioned in the file, use abstracts as needed, something like this. So the more personalized the outline, the more specific your requirement is, and the more you are aware about what the notes contain, does not contain, the better the AI will be when it generates that outline, and the outline is going to be much more personalized in these cases. So that's one way you can generate a particular outline. All right, so let's say in this case, it says, okay, you're referring to abstract, but nothing on climate change. Not a problem. So let's say that file did not have anything on climate change. No worries. Let me attach a different file. In this case, I'm going to attach a screenshot, let's say basically a snapshot of a picture that I had for my handwritten notes. And I will now say, give me an outline for an introduction section based on the text in the image. And what does this image exactly look like? And that is nothing but this. So this is what the image looks like that I provided. And I would also like to take this moment to tell you that, let's say, Paperpal's editor now supports the attachment of images. So for example, you're writing a manuscript, you want to attach an image onto the editor. So you no longer need to only rely on Word or Google Doc, but you can also do that inside Paperpal. So this is the handwritten note that I provided. The handwriting is not too shabby. The AI should be able to read the content over here. And all right, it has generated. And here you go. It gives me an introduction of climate change and mental health, an overview of climate change pyramid, the primary, secondary, tertiary levels. And all of that looks good because I can definitely see the climate change pyramid and a bunch of other points that the AI has neatly provided over here. So now this becomes my starting point. Instead of me asking the AI, okay, give me something to get started. This is a much more focused approach. I can either use my handwritten notes, and similarly, if I have some infographic. So for example, I read a poster, I'm very impressed by that poster. I want to use content from that poster to generate an outline, to be extracted the text from it and use that and provide to the AI some guidance. I can do that as well. Now, once I have generated that outline, there might be, let's say, some tendency, or let's say because the AI has made our lives easier, we might simply be tempted to ask the AI to either expand on the content directly such that we get an output. But then the better way would be to first read that output, make sure that this particular output is pertaining to my requirement. So, for example, I find that, okay, this seems very, very specific. So maybe if I want to modify this particular output, but again use the AI to refine and improve upon it, I can again use the write feature. So I simply have to select my text. If you're using the web editor, you will find the Paperpal AI command over here. I can either click it, type in my instruction, or I can go to the write feature. For example, let me show you this from here. Because I have selected this particular text, now when I type in my question, I can say something like, uh, how do I make this outline more specific to talk about children and elderly, something like this. Because my overarching topic is going to be about the mental health and its impact on children and elderly people, and maybe not a lot about the primary, secondary, and tertiary levels. So here you can see it actually reads the content, it addresses my question, and then gives me some recommendation. So this is how I continuously use AI while still being ethical and responsible, and at the same time being in control of what is the content that I want to actually incorporate in my document, instead of taking whatever the AI gives me and considering that as the final, the end all. So now I have a much more granular, much more detailed outline. I can ask a follow-up question, whatever I have. And once I am certain that, okay, the outline right now looks more or less good enough for me to continue adding, or let's say to continue to work on, now that becomes a solid ground for me to start my writing process. Now, for most of us, when we begin our research, there would already be a bunch of notes, there would already be a bunch of literature that we're already familiar with. We might already have read a bunch of papers. But what if, let's say, you have an outline, you have a refined outline. Now you want to start going a little deeper in that particular direction. So that is where, let's say, once I have an outline, once I know what my final paper is going to contain, more or less, I can start deep diving into that particular literature directly by using the research feature. So for example, I have an outline over here. It tells me that, okay, ambient temperature differences or drought and its impact on farmer suicides. Now this point seems interesting, but I don't know anything about this topic because I might not have read a lot of papers on this particular topic. But I want to start doing a little more deep dive into this topic because I might find it interesting. So very simply, I can go to Research and Cite. Now the feature Research and Cite, it is backed by a giant corpus of more than 250 million plus papers. Now, a trend that's happened these days is that most of the LLMs are equipped with web search. So when you ask a question, and let's say when you activate a web search, the LLM is able to go to the internet, find some resources, and provide some backing to the references that it is generating. So that's one way of the LLM telling you that, okay, boss, this is not me hallucinating. I am not faking anything up, but here are some references that you can read and refer to. But but the problem with that is that these LLMs, when they browse the internet, you are getting generic content. You might get some random websites, random blog articles. Those might not be academic enough, or those might not even be academic papers for that matter. But that is where Research and Cite comes in and shines. So because it is built upon a corpus of academic content, now when I ask a question to the Research and Cite here, it is going to look up those papers specifically from the academic context. For example, when I say drought and its impact on farmer suicides, I can ask a question like, what can you tell me about suicides? All right, maybe just something generic like that. So here, when I ask a question, the AI understands my intent that, okay, the student, or let's say the user wants to get some information about drought and its impact on farmer suicides. The conventional way you would ideally find papers for a question like this is maybe you would go to Google Scholar, you would go to any of those academic databases, and then you would type a keyword-based query, and then you would get a list of papers, and then you would scan through each of those papers manually and then identify whether a particular paper meets your requirement or does not meet your requirement. But on the contrary, but when you ask a question inside research, it will look up that question and try to identify the top papers that can support an answer to your question. It will take a while because it has to go through a giant corpus. So I'll give it a while for this particular thing to run in, or in the interest of time, maybe let me just quickly show you another response that I've already generated. So for example, let's check this particular thing. Sorry, 1 second. So let us say if this was my question that I asked, and this is what the response would usually look like. So for example, let's say if this was my question, you will get a response, and that along with that particular response, you have some backing from academic references. So this is the major difference between, let's say, using the Research and Cite feature in Paperpal versus using, let's say, a generic LLM, which is equipped with just web search, where the references may or may not be academic, or it could even include, let's say, retracted papers or substandard papers. But here, when I ask a question, the references are always going to come from actual published papers. I can click on the title. I will be able to read the abstract over here. I can see the title, I can see the citation data, I can see the DOI, some metadata information. And if I scroll down, I have all of those papers over here. And not only about asking question, I can ask follow-up question, and the AI will retain the entire context of this conversation. So once I ask a question, I can do a deep dive. I can keep on asking questions, keep on digging deeper, finding more content, unless and until, let's say, I find the right paper that I want to cite in my particular document. So that's how you can use the research to get reference-backed answers to your question. Now, let us say I asked a question, I got some papers, I will read this paper. At the minimum, I will read the abstract of that paper, make sure that these papers are of importance to me, that these papers are going to be relevant for me. And of course, I can add this paper to my library. So when I add them to my library, I will be able to come back to it at any later point of time, access these papers. Now, conventionally, let's say the tendency might be that, okay, I ask a paper, I get a reference backed ready-made answer with in-text citations. So maybe I'll use it directly. But this is where, as a responsible way of using the outputs, would be to first read and review each paper that you are getting. And once, let's say, you get a particular paper, for example, once you find that, okay, this output is interesting, this looks interesting enough, let's say I want to incorporate some elements of this output, then maybe I can go ahead and insert that output in my document over here, and then I get that. Now I can build upon this. I can read it, refine it, iterate it, and then go down the rabbit hole finding more related literature, and then improve upon that outline and keep on expanding upon that outline. Conversely, if you have already done an exhaustive systematic review, a literature review, maybe let's say using any of those deep research reports using ChatGPT or OpenAI, whatever, you can simply attach that, use that particular report, extract that insights, get outline, and then start digging deeper using the research feature to get more papers, get more relevant literature and answers to your question. Conversely, if I am writing a particular topic, I want a quick answer to my question to see whether or not something is already published in the literature. I can go ahead and ask that question over here, and then I can get a reference backed answer. An interesting way, let's say you can use research and the different features while you are actually writing or building upon a manuscript. For example, let us say I have written this particular section, and then later on I come across this paper and I find that, okay, this paper is interesting. Now I want to incorporate the findings from this particular paper or any other reference paper into this particular paragraph that I might be writing. Now, because I'm building my section, let's say my manuscript section by section, one paragraph at a time. Now, maybe your PI gives you a paper and says, hey, read this paper. This might fit well in the introduction section somewhere. Now, again, how do you use an AI for doing that? The conventional way is, let's say you read the paper, you read your manuscript because you have written the manuscript, you know exactly where that particular paper fits in. But what if you want some assistance in getting that done? So a very simple way would be, let's say, if I select this particular text. So for example, let us say this is the information that I'm actually interested in incorporating in my manuscript while I'm writing. Now I can use the write feature very flexibly to do that. And what do I mean by that? So for example, I can write a prompt something like, okay, tell me how I can incorporate this text here with good flow. It's a very crude prompt, but let's say, and I paste the output, or let's say the text that I found from that paper. Now I want to incorporate some important inputs, maybe in this paragraph, for example. Then I can just select it. The write feature will read the text that is present on your screen, and that will understand your question that, okay, you found some important literature, some interesting literature. Now you want to incorporate that outputs or the findings into your paragraph. So now I give the AI the command to go ahead. It will read the text, it will understand the content that you have provided, and then it will provide you with some output over here on how you can integrate it, how you can incorporate it. Now, think of an actual writing flow where you are writing a paragraph of text. For example, let us say you are writing this paragraph, you come across a paper, you want to incorporate some elements of that paper, or maybe let's say a paragraph or a finding from that paper somewhere in your manuscript, maybe in better flow, with some better placement. You can simply and flexibly use the write feature. You can simply select the text where you want a particular information to be integrated seamlessly. You can add your query over here, get some recommendations from the write feature, the AI that passed the write feature, on how do I best incorporate and integrate it. And then the AI will seamlessly guide you on how to do that very effectively. So your reading, your finding of literature, your integration of literature into the actual paper that you are writing can happen in a single flow without even switching tabs, simply by, let's say, moving around a couple of features inside here. Another interesting feature inside the research tool is, for example, the ability to chat with a particular PDF. So for example, let us say I asked a question. You will find that along with the references, you have some upload PDF button over here. And then for other papers, you have the chat button over here. And that is where I would like to introduce the chat PDF feature inside Paperpal. So for example, if you are in the stage where you are trying to do a deep dive or extract insights from a particular literature, from a particular paper, for example, and if that particular paper is open access and covered under Creative Commons license, which means that the full text is available for download, we download that paper, you can simply click on chat, and it will open up in your chat PDF tab in a separate window. And then you can do a deep dive on that paper, extract more insights. So that's one way you go about it. The other way would be, let us say you have a PDF, which might not be a research article, but you want to incorporate that PDF, extract some insight from that PDF, and then incorporate it into your manuscript. So that is where you can simply click on chat PDF button on the right hand side over there. Click on chat PDF, where it will again open into a new tab where you will be able to upload that PDF. So currently we had support up to 150 pages. The limit was earlier 100, but we have upgraded that to 150. And very soon we will also be bringing in the multi PDF chat feature inside Paperpal sometimes next month. So do look out for that as well. So with chat PDF, as the name suggests, very simply, you can talk to your document, you can extract insights, you can extract content. Let's say if you want to understand a particular paper, you want to do a deep dive on a particular paper, you can do all of that with chat PDF. So for example, it'll look something like this. So I have my PDF on the left here, which is what I'm reading, which is what I want to do a deep dive. And I can simply start asking my questions over here. So the one thing is you can either start with the preset questions, which are tailor-made primarily for academic audiences, or let's say if you have a generic question where you want to extract some insights. So you can simply go ahead and type your question. For example, let me simply ask, provide a summary of the discussion section. Now the AI will read through the entire paper. It will understand that, okay, I've asked for a summary of the discussion section. It will give me that summary. As you can see here, it is reading it, it is generating that output. And along with that output, it will also give me actual snippets of text which link back to the document. And what do I mean by that? I'll just give it a while for the outputs to be generated, and then you will see the magic. So once the outputs are generated, it will take a while. Then the output is generated to link the actual text from the PDF into your response. So here you can see some green numbers have appeared. Now when I click on it, it takes me to the actual location in the PDF from which the text was taken to generate that particular response. So by this, you can be assured that the output that the AI is giving you, it is not something that is hallucinated. It is not something that the AI has cooked up on its own. This is actual content that the AI has integrated and incorporated in from the document itself. So I can do a deep dive. I can get reference backed or grounded responses from the AI for my questions. And not only that, we recently launched an upgrade where we now support the rendering of tables. So for example, let us say you had a question like this. Okay, give me the strengths and the limitations of the study, maybe as a table. So the AI reads through the entire text. It will give you the different points for the strengths, the different points for the limitation. And as you can see, it does not take information from any one block of text, but reads the entire paper throughout, consolidates all the information, provides it as a table. And now I can either copy paste this table elsewhere, or I can simply download this table as a CSV, convert that to an Excel, use it, and then incorporate that into my writing process. So that's where the chat PDF feature links in very neatly when you are writing and when you want to expand on your content, extract insights from papers. For example, another feature in chat PDF that you can directly use. For example, let's say I found this output to be interesting and this seems relevant for me in my writing. Now I want to integrate it directly into my writing. So for example, if this is the document that I'm working from and this is my file name, so I can simply go to chat PDF where I had the response. I can simply say, starting from scratch, save to a particular document. And I have a drop down here, which allows me to save the particular output to any specific document that I might want. For example, if I simply click here, so it will select, okay, just something went wrong. Let me just give it a shot again. I'll just refresh that tab, nothing to worry. So once I click on save to notes, it will save to that particular document that I have over here. So let us say save to LUIUR. Yeah, it has saved. Now I can either click open over here or that tab is already open. I can go it either way. So now I allow that particular document to be opened, and you will find that, okay, this was my outline that I initially worked on. This was the previous outline that I generated from the outlines feature. And this was the output from research. And here you have the notes from your PDF provided neatly over here. So you have the title of the PDF, the date you had added, and the information that was consolidated from the notes. So that's how you can simply and neatly extract insights, integrate it in your actual writing process, and then refine upon it and improve upon it. Now, once I have this note, maybe I don't want it as a bullet point. I can simply select the particular text. I can go to Paperpal AI, ask it to consolidate the information as a neat paragraph. I can read that paragraph, make sure that everything is according to my requirement, and I already have the citation of the paper over here. So I don't have to worry about adding that particular paper citation separately. So that's how I can neatly integrate the chat PDF feature in my writing process, in my reading process, to build upon the content that I am writing. Now, at this stage, before proceeding further, I'll take a small pause, and Riddhi, if you can come back in, and if there are any questions, I'll be happy to take a couple of questions right now at this stage before we proceed further.
Thank you so much. Can you? I'm audible.
Yeah, you're audible.
Awesome. Okay. Great. Thank you, Shardul, for walking us through that part of the demo. Really, really helpful. As Shardul said, before we move ahead, we'd like to take a quick question and answer break. We've already seen several questions coming in, and yeah, it's a good point to pause and just address them. Just a reminder, please add your questions in the Q&A panel and not in the chat if possible, so that we make sure that we don't miss any. Cool. So I'll read out a few questions now between Shardul and myself. We will take you through the answers. And after this short Q&A, we'll continue with the next part of the demo. So yeah, with that, I will read out the first question, which goes as, what pros and cons should we have to consider during research writing while using AI?
All right, it's a good question. The pros and cons of considering when I'm doing my research writing, especially when I'm using AI. So the most simplest thing that I can answer is, don't ask an AI to, let's say, find everything, generate everything, and write everything for you. So always stay in control and keep it step by step. So for example, because AI tools are powerful, and it's a reality that maybe not all of us are exactly taught how to exactly write a research paper, let alone read a paper. Now, we might be able to, let's say, understand what a paper requires. So if I'm writing a research paper, I know that it requires an IMRAD format. The introduction should start with an objective, the topic importance, state the rationale, state the objective. That general flow, I might be aware. But when it comes to actually writing, nobody has taught me that. And which is where we find the most challenging bit of writing a paper. And that is where the AI also excels, because AI tools are really good at writing. So it might be tempting for us to literally, dump all the notes, all the papers to an AI, and then literally ask it to take over and do that writing for us. But that is something that we have to maximally avoid. But at the same time, use AI by creating, let's say, building blocks. Like, start with an outline. If you already have an outline, ask the AI to go through the papers, extract insights, read through it, because you are writing your own paper. You know what your final paper is going to look like. You have conducted the experiments, you know what the results are, you know what the story it is that you want to convey with your research paper. So use the AI to fill in those little gaps instead of asking the AI to completely take over. And one important point I would like to also highlight is, when you're using AI, especially to find literature or papers, always verify. Like, trust but verify. Always read through any references that the AI gives you. If you are asking an AI for, let's say, a DOI, I would recommend that you use academic specific AI tools and not a tool like, let's say, ChatGPT, because there is a tendency for AI tools which are general purpose to hallucinate DOIs. So don't blindly incorporate any DOI that the AI gives you. Always read, verify, make sure that the references are relevant for your use case, and only then proceed. So I hope I was able to answer that.
Yeah, Yeah, I think that's very very well said, and in fact, we have a critical thinking seminar that we had just a while ago, and it was received very well. Maybe our team can share a link in the chat, but we talk very actively about what is it that will ensure that you're critically thinking while you're using AI, so that AI in true sense is your collaborator and doesn't take the place of becoming a creator. So yeah, great question. I'll move to the next one. I believe that's the talk of the town. And we have several questions around that theme. So basically, is can I write with the help of AI such that it is plagiarism free, such that it is AI detector free? Similarly, there's another question where we talk about uh, what if I create something on Paperpal AI and it gets AI detection scores. So uh, these are hot topics in research discussions, and it's very, very natural to worry about them. Um, but it's also critical to understand what these AI detection scores actually measure. Um, so while yes, plagiarism detection assesses whether text or ideas are copied from existing sources, AI detectors, uh, they are text detectors. They analyze patterns in the text itself to estimate if it resembles AI generated writing, right? Uh, so it's very important to understand that these AI detectors, they're not evaluating the originality of the ideas or your notes that you eventually thought you will paraphrase or convert into complete sentences using AI. And neither are these detectors assessing your intellectual input, right? Um, uh, so it's very important to know that yes, detectors may flag the output, but it is only because the final wording is same, and not the human input that has guided it. Now the flip side of this is, most scientists, researchers are embracing AI usage, of course, responsibly. So, there was a recent Nature article survey uh, where 5,000, more than 5,000 researchers, in fact, they participated and showed openness. 95%, in fact, they showed openness to using AI tools. So we all know that AI is no longer optional. It's becoming a standard part of our workflows, our writing flows. So what is it, where do we go then? So basically the focus here is not to avoid a score, but to use AI transparently and ethically. And in fact, we have a dedicated part of the demo that where Shardul will take us through this part specifically. But it's important to call out that leading institutions, universities, publishers, they recognize this. For example, the University of Oxford, it permits students to use generative AI tools to support their academic writing. Elsevier, for example, allows AI-assisted improvements, allows generative AI for readability improvements, improving language in the manuscripts. As far as the authors retain oversight and they disclose AI use. So what's more important is using AI responsibly. Uh, Reviewing it, as Shardul mentioned, and uh, transparently being very transparent about how AI has been used, and disclosing the use properly. So yeah, uh,
Thanks, Riddhi.
any specific points to add to that, Shardul?
No, I think I'll also cover a bit on this particular topic towards the end of the presentation. So we will definitely be doing it because this is a hot topic, as Riddhi mentioned. And anyone and everyone who uses AI, especially in the context of research papers for academic publication, will already always have this question or fear or uncertainty. And we will try to answer some of those questions in that regard. So yeah, I think we'll now proceed with the rest of the presentation now.
Yeah.
I will once again share my screen. All right, is my screen visible and am I audible? I think everything is all right, I presume. All right, I can see thumbs up. Thank you so much, people. Thank you very much. And I did see a question somewhere in the chat about somebody asking whether I can find research or papers from specific corpus. Yes, you can do that. And that is what I would be coming to next. Let's say, what more can PaperPal help you with? What more can PaperPal offer? So when I'm asking a research question, I'm getting some papers that very specifically addresses my research question. But what if I want those papers to come from a very specific set of corpus, maybe some Q and quartile journals, for example? I have that option inside Paperpal. So once again, let's say, let me show you where to find this. Now, when you ask a question, you will find this gear icon, the settings. You can just click on it. You can toggle between the different filters that you have, such that when you ask a question and the papers are retrieved, the papers are going to be more or less based on the filters that you have specified. So this is how you can refine your search a lot more efficiently when trying to find some papers that addresses your question. So that's one way to refine it. But now let us say in my writing process, I asked questions, I found some papers, I used chat PDF, I extracted insights from that papers, I did a deep dive. So in each of these steps, although it might seem that, okay, there's a lot of processes involved, why not simply ask chat GPT to, like literally give it a paper and then extract that insights? The concern is that AI generated text, the ethical use of AI, and that is exactly why you should follow step-by-step process instead of letting the AI completely take over. Always be in the driver's seat such that you know exactly what you're doing. You know what content has gone into your paper, which paper it is coming from, which paper has to be cited, not cited. All of that always remains in your control. That said, what if I want to add some citations in my document? Because I have read papers, I have extracted insights from that paper. Now I want to manually add some citations. As you can see on my screen, Paperpal definitely supports the addition of citations. And if you're using the web interface of Paperpal, which I'm demonstrating right now, you can automatically add an in-text citation and a linked end reference list using Paperpal's Cite feature. Now, very simply, when you ask a question, you will get some papers, or if you have saved some papers to your library, for example, I can go to the library. With every reference card, you will find a cite button present. So all I have to do is place my cursor where I want the citation to be added in my text that I'm writing. Now, once I will make sure that, okay, this is the right paper for me to be cited in this context, I can simply click on Cite over here. Here I have the option to change the citation style. So practically all the styles that you might use on Zotero, which is more than 10,000 plus citation styles, all of that is also provided and offered by Paperpal. You can simply change it to whatever target journal that you want. So once you have selected, I can simply click Insert Citation. So as you can see, the citation has been added. Not only has the citation been added, for example, because already there was a citation, it has been added as a group citation. So basically, if you want to add multiple citations in one place, you don't have to do that manually by finding a paper individually. For example, now that I've added this paper, if I want to add this paper, simply press your cursor, click on Cite, insert citation, et voila. The paper has been added as a consequent grouped citation. So that's how I can add papers and cite papers automatically in a single flow while I am reading it, while I am finding papers. Now, if I want to change the citation style to a particular journal style, so you will find that inside research, you have this icon called as a citation style. So you can click on this icon, or if you're using the web interface for Paperpal, if you scroll down to the end, you will find a reference list. And besides that reference list, you will find a citation style that is currently applied. I can click on either places wherever I want. And let us say if I want to change it to AMA, for example, I select AMA, I change the citation style. And as you can see, the citation styles have changed consistently to the AMA format. So that's how you can automatically add citation, format citation, revise that citation, group multiple citations inside Paperpal. Now, there are a lot more grounds for us to cover in this regards. For example, we are very soon working on bringing the linked citation to Word as well. And we will also be providing support to import, let's say from Zotero, or maybe to add a custom citation, something that might not be found via Paperpal. So all of that support is going to come in the coming months. So that's the citation feature where I can be assured that I am not only reading, I'm reading, writing, and citing in a single flow without having to worry about multiple tools or juggling multiple tabs in a single flow using Paperpal. Now, I also have another interesting feature that pretty much came from, let's say, user feedback primarily. So, because there are AI tools that can, let's say, find which are the most appropriate papers. For example, when you ask a question in research, the system basically understands your question and finds the best papers that can answer that question. But what if we also use it maybe to quickly reduce the time that you take to find the appropriate citation for a particular text and do so ethically and responsibly? So that is where the cite text feature comes inside Paperpal. So for example, if I have written a particular statement, but maybe I'm not able to find the best reference for it, maybe I had a paper, I don't remember it, or maybe if I want to find which are the best papers that can support that statement, I only have to, let's say, select that particular statement in Paperpal. And if you're using the Paperpal's web interface, you have two options to access it. One, you can go into Research and Cite, click on Cite Text, and then hit enter. Or from inline, you can simply click the Cite button that appears over here. So what happens is the system again reads your text that you selected. It understands the larger context in which that particular snippet of text is used. Then it goes through this corpus of 250 million plus papers, open access papers, journal articles, and identifies the top papers that are most suitable as references to be added for that particular text. Now, it does not provide you with, let's say, a ready-made inline citation because that would be unethical and not a very responsible way. Because the best way for you at this stage, for example, now that I have a bunch of papers, the number of effort, the amount of time that I need to even go through the entire corpus, find at least 10 relevant papers, that has reduced significantly. So the AI helps you speed up these little processes and then improve the efficiency of your writing. So now that I have a bunch of papers, I can, of course, click on read abstract, read the abstract of that particular paper, and I can add it to my library so that I can come back to it, access it from my library. If the particular paper is freely available, I can read the full text, understand it a little better. But once I'm assured that, okay, this is the thing, I want to cite this paper, you can continue with the following flow. So for example, in this case, if I want to cite that paper from the library, I can simply add the cite button, or you can simply cite from the new tab that opens up. So that's how the cite text feature works, especially when your use case that you are the intent that you are looking for is to find the top papers that you want to cite for your text. So you want to ask a question and get some reference backed answers. You can use ask a research question. If you want to find best references for the text that is already present, you can use cite text. If you want to search for a particular paper via its title, its keywords, or its DOI, you can click on search paper. So that's the amount of flexibility that the research feature provides such that you can use it in your research writing process, the literature discovery process. So that's all about the research feature. Now, stepping gears a little bit. Now, I have built upon my manuscript tediously. Let's say I read a lot of papers. I made sure that each and every reference that goes in is validated. I am always in control. I have made sure that the flow is correct as per my requirement. Now, there's a lot more things that Paperpal can do besides just these stages. Now, even at this stage, when you have already written something, you want to polish something, you want to improve something, you want to translate the text into a different language, for example, Paperpal can do that very easily. So for example, if I have a piece of text here and I want to translate it, Paperpal provides a translate feature inside here, which you can find. All I have to do is simply select a piece of text which I want to translate. I can either find the target language from here, or like I said, if you're using Paperpal's web interface, then click on Paperpal AI and then let's say find translate and choose the most appropriate language that you want to be translated in. So for example, let's say English. Now the system will read the text, understand the text. And one point that I would like to specifically call out is that even if you're working with Paperpal's web editor or even in Word, if you have some linked citations like this, so those citations are going to stay preserved. So they will not be affected in any way. As you can see, I replace the translated output, my citation stays intact. Now, similarly, if I had to quickly demonstrate the same thing, let's say in Word, where let's say I've added two citations via Zotero. Now, when I use any of Paperpal's feature, for example, let me show you the paraphrase feature here. Now, when I click on paraphrase, if I want to improve or paraphrase this text, you will find that these linked citations are represented very clearly. And when I click on generate, the system understands that, okay, there are linked citations and that I have to maximally preserve it even when I'm trying to paraphrase it or reduce the word count. As you can see here, the references are still preserved. Now, when I replace it over here, I have clicked replace and the references still say linked. So that's how I can be assured that, okay, all my content stays very well. It is not affected in whatsoever. So that's how you can use Paperpal in your writing process while being assured that your linked references and citations stay intact. So that's about the translate feature. And similarly, as I mentioned in Word, you can use the rewrite features and the host of different features inside rewrite into different modes depending upon your use case. For example, if you have written something on your own, you want to make something sound a little bit more academic, I can select make academic. So for example, I select this text if I want to make it sound a little bit more academic because I'm not very sure that is suitable for maybe academic audience or an academic tone. I can simply go to the Paperpal's rewrite feature, click on make academic, and I have an output over here. If I'm not happy with this output, I can click on retry. But if let's say I come to the conclusion that maybe make academic is not what I was looking for, maybe I just want to maybe improve the fluency or maybe even simplify it or paraphrase it. So I can toggle between the different options if I'm using the web editor such that I can generate outputs for each mode, toggle back, review the outputs that I have for the different mode, and then use the one that is best suited for my requirement. So that's how you can use Paperpal's different features and the different functionalities very effectively to make an informed decision when you are polishing your language or polishing your text. But consider a scenario where, let's say, some users have given us feedback that, okay, I was looking for maybe improving fluency, but I did not want certain words to be present. I mean, how do I get some granular level of control over here? So that is where I would also offer another way. If you are looking for, let's say, more flexibility or let's say more granularity in terms of the output, you can also flexibly use the write feature over here. While the rewrite has been built primarily to handle all of the rewrite use cases, it will preserve all your meaning, your intent, your numbers, nuances, citations, code, equations, anything that you give at it. But with write, it is a bit more flexible. For example, you will have to specify to the AI what you are looking for exactly. If you're looking to paraphrase something while preserving some word or some terminology, that custom instruction can happen over here. Now, there was a question about responsible AI use earlier as well. Now, with rewrite, we understand that because, okay, this is an AI tool that is taking in your initial input and then providing you a refined version of it. But how do I make sure that, okay, the AI is not going haywire, the AI is not going crazy, especially when I'm dealing with large chunk of text? And that is where we have some internal safeguards in place. So, for example, we have imposed a 500 word limit so that you are always in control of reading the output and the AI is always giving you an output that you are easily able to stay in control with and customize that output with. It is not literally rewriting your entire document and then deleting information which you might even not notice up until the later stages. But let's say if you want some more flexibility, as I mentioned earlier, you can simply select your text, go to write, give in your specific prompt, and then the AI will do its magic to give you that output that you're looking for. So that's the rewrite features inside here. Now, coming back to that question of, let's say, using an AI output responsibly. Now, especially when I'm using Paperpal and the different AI features, now I'm building upon my output. Now, I might have used the rewrite feature at multiple places in my manuscript. How do I keep track of, let's say, which content came from AI versus what is it that I have written? Because although the market is essentially hinging towards, let's say, using a lot of AI detectors themselves are unreliable, and that is what essentially your universities and your journals are realizing. And that is where the world is moving towards a more process based approach rather than an outcome based approach. So when you write an entire paper, you dump it into a software that detects AI. It's an outcome based approach. But what essentially your universities, professors, your journals, what they are looking at is, show me that you wrote something on your own, maybe let's say the previous version of your manuscript. So that is the process based approach that the world is slowly and steadily moving towards, and towards the first step towards providing such control over what you are writing versus what you have incorporated from the AI. Paperpal has an AI footprint feature over here. So on Paperpal web, when you click on the three dots icon, you will find AI footprint. Now, once I toggle the AI footprint in and once I switch it on, you will find that whatever outputs that you have directly incorporated from any of the AI features, that will appear in a different color. So for example, this was an AI output that I have incorporated directly. I've inserted it directly in my document. So this appears as a different color. Now, when I'm doing my writing one paragraph at a time, I might not have a macro view of what all things came from the AI. But when I switch it on, now when I'm writing my manuscript using the different AI features, I am much more mindful of how much content I've actually used from the AI, such that I can modify it, I can tailor it depending upon what is my requirement. I can at least read it. If something is not making sense, something does not seem to be appropriate in a context, I can revise it. So this gives me control over how I am using AI, especially from a perspective of tracking the entire process of writing a particular manuscript. So for example, let's say I had pasted this particular AI output and I made some changes over here manually. Now the changes that you make manually will appear in a different font and a different color. So for example, let's say if I edit this output, now this suddenly tracked as a separate human edit. Now it is no longer AI edit. Let's say specific and certain demographic or contextual factors like. So in these cases, now I have control, I have a visibility. When I'm looking at the entire document, I have a visibility of what content came from the AI and what is it that I have incorporated. Now, this is our first step towards a comprehensive set of solution that is going to tackle the entire debate of, let's say, AI detection or AI content. And AI footprint is the first step that we have taken to providing that some degree of granular control or some degree of oversight, especially when you are using Paperpal to generate an output and use that particular output. Now, that said, all right, now I have switched on AI control. Now everything looks good. But let's say if you're working collaboratively, there are multiple people working on the same document, or maybe you are writing something, you want to quickly set some reminders to yourself that, okay, you want to add something over here. So that is where Paperpal has recently also launched two features called as the comments and the share option. For example, if I want to share this particular output with other people, I can simply invite collaborators. I can simply type in their email ID, provide them edit or view access, and then multiple people can work together. And what will it look like? For example, if I simply duplicate this tab, and if I go at the top over here, so if I place my cursor somewhere on the introduction, you will find that the name of your collaborator will appear over here. And in this document, you will be able to see what the other person is typing and in real time, so that multiple people can seamlessly work towards improving a particular manuscript. So if you had preferred Google Docs for collaborative functionalities, we now have that right inside Paperpal. Similarly, you want to put a comment to your colleague to improve some particular thing, you can simply select a particular piece of text. So for example, I can select it and I can click on the add comment button and I will have added a comment such that they can address it later. So you can tag individuals. Separately, if I want to add a comment for myself to maybe add something, maybe add a reference or maybe tweak something in the document, I can add that as landmarks so that I have that visibility when I'm doing my writing process. So those are two interesting features that you can use along with the AI footprint to keep control and to work collaboratively, especially inside Paperpal. Now that said, I have written everything. I have done with my polishing of text. And maybe now this is a step where I might want to go towards improving the language, improving the grammar. And that is where the edit feature comes in. Now with edit feature, I can simply click on edit. All the text that is present in your document, it will be read, it will be understood. And the model that passed the AI, the edit feature inside Paperpal, this is something specific and tailor-made for academia. So it understands academic nuances and understands academic conventions, terminologies, as opposed to, let's say, a generic grammar correction tool. And it will provide you with that edits over here. So now when you click on any of the reference cards, you will see that the edit is provided. And because it's a general notion that AI is a black box, we don't know why something happens. But with edit, you actually get to see why a particular edit was made. So the AI tells you that, okay, this was made for a rephrase. So for example, if this particular edit, it was made for convention, or let's say in this case, it was made for word choice. So these are different nuances that can be, let's say, understood by you as and when you are editing a particular document. We also recently incorporated a personal dictionary so that if you want to add a particular word to the dictionary and you don't want it to be, let's say, edited by the AI. So for example, in this case, if I've added kappa, if I want kappa to be in small k, for example, although it isn't correct, let's say I might add it to a dictionary and then maybe keep it inside in that particular format because I want to preserve that nuance. So that's how I can use the personal dictionary feature over here flexibly. And similarly, if I want to toggle between the different modes of editing, I can click on the particular button and I can choose my preference over here and then use the different preferences accordingly. Now that I have polished my text, I have revised my text. Let's say we have the AI checks feature inside Paperpal that can provide you with critical review on your particular document. And this is something very interesting. So for example, you have your entire document, you have written it step by step, but usually this is the stage where you would send your paper to a colleague or to your senior to get some feedback. But with AI review, you can get that critique and insight directly inside Paperpal. So for example, all I have to do is type in my questions, the AI reads the entire text that I have present on my screen, and then it will give me critical insights. So for example, in the interest of time, I've already asked a particular question. So in this case, the question that I asked was check the flow of the manuscript, tell me if there are issues, and if there are issues, give me clear next steps on how to resolve those issues. The AI reads the entire document that I have provided over here. It identifies some of these issues and gives me suggestions on how to address this. So for example, consider the cases where you are worried that maybe the flow of your manuscript is not good. So for example, if you're only looking for the flow between two paragraphs, maybe not at the entire document level, you can simply select the two paragraphs, click on Paperpal AI or go to write, ask the AI to give you some recommendations to improve flow. But if you're looking at the entire manuscript as a whole and you want to get some feedback, some critical insight, you can go to AI review, type in your specific question, or use any of the presets that are provided in the AI review tab, and the AI will give you that critical input. Unlike ChatGPT, it does not go ahead and rewrite your entire document. It only provides you with critical input such that you stay in the driver's seat. You are always in control of what information you are adding into Paperpal from the AI suggestions. So that's the AI review feature that we have. And we also have a couple of features called plagiarism check and journal submission check. Plagiarism check needs no introduction. Now that I have written my document, I have drafted everything. If I want to quickly do a self check for plagiarism, let's say against online published sources and open access articles, I can simply upload my document over here, PDF or Word file, and I will get a plagiarism check report that looks something like this, pretty much a standard plagiarism check report. And I can use that particular information to maybe improve upon my document, maybe add some citations if citations were missing, or maybe revise or paraphrase particular text if something is off. Similarly, I also have full control of the data. So for example, if I want to download that report, use it somewhere, or if I want to delete it, let's say, because I don't want to have it preserved anywhere, you can simply delete it. And you can rest assured that the information that you upload to Paperpal's plagiarism check feature, it is not added to any database, it is not added to any Turnitin's database, or it is not going to be used for training any of the AI model. And that is true for any and all document, any and all content that you are using inside Paperpal. Coming to the last feature that I want to showcase here, that's the journal submission check or the manuscript check feature. In the beginning, I mentioned that Paperpal can help you throughout the entire process of your research writing. Be that starting from scratch, be that improving upon existing content, or be you submit that you have already written a manuscript, you're coming to Paperpal with an already completed manuscript. Even at that stage, the journal submission check can help you. All I have to do is, let's say, upload my manuscript. So for example, let me simply attach this sample document over here. What happens in the backend is that we have custom built this entire stack and different checks will be run for different aspects. For example, multiple checks will run for language, multiple checks will run for references, the different counts, structure, figures and table citation, disclosure statement, and the different metadata. Now, a point I would like to add here is that these are checks are not specific to a journal, but these are general best practices followed across journals. So if you're worried that, okay, your paper, when you submit it to a journal, runs the risk of maybe, let's say, being sent back to you because you missed out on certain elements that are required across journals. So you can simply use the journal submission check feature and scan your document and then download the edited file. And let's say this is what the edited file would look like. I already have one open for you. So for example, in the first page, you have the table with a summary of all the things that the system believes that you need to incorporate in your document. And if you scroll down, if there are some missing content, for example, you have given the author name, but not the corresponding author list, the system provides some placeholders for you to add. And if there are language and grammar issues, system also goes ahead and makes those changes for you, such that if you have uploaded a Word file, you can get a tracked changed document in Word, which you can then review and then incorporate it. It also goes ahead and adds certain comments for you, such that it is very clear and indicative when you are actually using the particular document and text. So here you go. This is what the comments will look like, and this is what the final report looks like. And that, on the whole, is how Paperpal can help you at different stages in your writing process. So right from the stage where you are building from scratch, where you want to extract insights, where you want to talk to a particular document, where you want to keep a track of what are the content that you have used an AI to generate, where you want to upload a screenshot, an image, your notes to generate content, where you want to find references for your text or get reference backed answers to your question. All of those cases can be solved by Paperpal. In addition to this, there are some other small features which I encourage you all to try out inside Paperpal. And with that, I think I'm done with the official demonstration or the webinar. And I will switch back to the slide over here. Now, in this second segment, I think I'll focus more on the responsible AI and the ethical AI bit, because that is the question that many of you all had in the Q&A section and in the chat. Now, I'm not sure how many of you are already aware about it, but this was a very famous paper that came in a couple of months ago, which pretty much said that if you use ChatGPT, maybe your brain is not being used, or maybe you might become dull, or maybe you're not going to be very smart. And basically, what the paper showed that, okay, people who are using ChatGPT very extensively without, let's say, actually thinking through, they showed decrease, or let's say reduced cognitive activation. So basically their brains were activated or used less. And this became a very famous topic which started going around, let's say, in news and in different publications, that, okay, if you use ChatGPT, you're going to become dumb. And that essentially was the takeaway from for most of the outlets, for most of the articles that was out there, even in Twitter, even on Reddit. But interestingly, one point that was not covered by any of the major publishers, but which was mentioned in the paper, and which I serendipitously found in a Substack article, is that this particular study had a group where they let the students first think about a particular problem, about writing an essay, and then made the students use an AI tool to maybe do the process of automating that writing process. And what they found, that this particular group, who first used their brain and then used an AI or an LLM, they maintained higher cognitive engagement even when they were using that AI. So this is that first study kind of thing which shows you that, okay, your AI tool need not, let's say, impact your cognitive thinking or your critical thinking skill. At the end of the day, your AI is a tool. How you use it, where in the workflow you use it, matters quite a lot. And which is why, although the, let's say, the right feature in Paperpal, it could theoretically write an entire paragraph for you. But then I would recommend that you use any AI tool, be that Paperpal, be that Gemini, be that ChatGPT, to maybe structure, brainstorm, critique, provide you with outline, comment on, let's say, something that you have already written upon, find ways to improve, so that you are also cognitively involved in the process of writing instead of letting the AI completely take over. So this one tells you that, okay, how you use the AI tool matters rather than, let's say, not using an AI tool. So AI tools are not too bad. So yeah, so the general verdict is that, okay, I can use an AI tool. But when I say I can use an AI tool, your research paper, the journey from a research paper pretty much looks something like this. If I'm a sculptor, or let's say if I'm an artist, and I want to draw a penguin or maybe build a statue of a penguin. Now, if I have the vision of what my final art or what my final piece is going to look like, I know everything. Let's say how the penguin is going to look, how the colors are going to be, what are the skin is going to look like. The same thing also applies to a research paper. If you are in control of what the final narrative of your paper is going to be, so for example, which are the references you want to include in your paper, rather than asking the AI to find some reference and automatically add it. For example, if you're very sure that, okay, I found these results based on my experiments, my discussion is going to say these because these are the results that I found. So I know what that final vision of my paper looks like. And that is the same thing that you need to follow when you're using an AI tool. Don't give the AI the entire task of, let's say, creating the final art or creating the final paper, but always stay in control of that vision and then structure that vision step by step. What does this look like, especially when you are using AI for academic writing. There was a paper from 2025 that provided a general recommendation. And mind you, that this is not some topical paper or some position paper, because there are many studies that keep coming up. And the entire problem of, let's say, not problem, the entire topic of AI and ethics and AI detection, that very much remains a policy problem rather than, let's say, an actual problem for students to solve. And what this particular paper recommended was something very interesting. It says that, okay, if you belong to tier 1, where you're using an AI tool for grammar and language correction, for translation to improve your readability, that's ethically acceptable. If you're using an AI to maybe generate an outline, summarize content, improve the clarity of that content, brainstorm for ideas, that is also okay. There's nothing problematic there. But if you're using an AI to, let's say, draft de novo text, for example, a misuse, especially from the perspective of, let's say, a paper mill. Now, a paper mill, somebody sitting behind a paper mill, they will not take the trouble to write a paper. They might not even have conducted any of the experiments for that paper. What they would do is simply go to ChatGPT, type in the topic, and ask the AI to literally draft a full paper along with references. Or they might simply go to ChatGPT, do a deep research, get an entire deep research report, not even read it, not even verify it, and use that as a literature review. And that is where the problem or the actual gray area starts, when you are using or incorporating AI in academia. So, which is why I would recommend everyone that no matter what AI tool you are using, make sure that you always fall within the tier 1 or the tier 2, because that is the safest bet that you can be. And why is it important? Just a couple of days ago, there was a report from Nature which said that one of the publishers, I think AACR, which is one of the reputed American Association for Cancer Research, and they have around 10 or 30 different titles under them. Now, this particular publisher, they ran an AI detection on papers published between 2021 to 2024. And they found that, okay, a lot of those papers, and not just papers, but even peer review comments, they were AI generated. We might all be aware about the fact that plagiarism might get caught, maybe many years down the line, even if, let's say, a paper gets published, but down the line, if somebody retrospectively checks a particular paper, it might get flagged for plagiarism. And the way AI tools are being used, the way, let's say, the misuse of AI is there, this pretty much looks like the way or the direction where we might be headed, where journals might not only proactively check for AI detection tool, but they might also retrospectively check for published papers. So all the more reason that if you are using any AI tool, always stay in the ethically responsible zone. And it is not the case that journals prohibit students or researchers from using AI tool. For example, in this particular article, the journal publisher themselves had a guideline which said that if you are using AI tool, you please disclose it. And in Paperpal also, we have a very AI disclosure format. And at this moment, I would like to show you that AI disclosure format. So for example, if you're writing an AI topic, and if you want to disclose the use of an AI, very simple thing that you can do is go to your journal guidelines. They will have a generative AI policy. Most of the major publishers, Elsevier, Taylor and Francis, Wiley, Blackwell, Springer Nature, most of them do not prohibit authors from using any AI tool, but they only recommend that you disclose the use of an AI. And what does that AI disclosure look like? It looks something like this. For example, if you're a student and you want to disclose the use of an AI ethically to your professor, maybe when you're submitting a report, maybe you can use this template where you can fill in the information that, let's say, what AI tool did you use and what was the purpose and what did you use it for. So that's how you can use it as a student. But if you are looking for journal submission, so for example, let us say as a representative example, if I am publishing to Elsevier, one of Elsevier's journal, first, I would definitely check on the journal guidelines, look at the author guidelines. What do they recommend? If they recommend a specific format, well and good. But if they do not recommend a specific format, but if I want to judiciously disclose it to be on the safe side, I can choose Elsevier. I can click on insert and I can provide the name of the tool. For example, if you use Paperpal, if you use that to improve the text, for grammar error correction, for brainstorming, all of that you can provide over here. And this is all that most of the journals ask for. They do not prohibit users. They do not prohibit anybody from not using AI tool, although some journals might have a strict guidelines against it. Now, coming over to, let's say, as a user, how do I use an AI tool ethically or responsibly? A very simple framework would be Every, in addition to the one that I showed you earlier. always evaluate your output. No matter what AI tool you're using, no matter where is it coming from, always evaluate your output. Verify that the output's always correct. So for example, AI can have a tendency to sound smart, but the actual content might not even make any sense. So which is why always verify even if you trust the AI. Engage with the output. So when you get an output, don't just blindly copy paste it or incorporate it. Read it, engage with it, see how that output fits within the larger picture that you want to convey, within the larger story that you want to say, and then revise it as needed. The same thing also applies for revise. And the last thing is you. At the end of the day, because all of these AI tools, be that Paperpal, Grammarly, ChatGPT, Jenny, Gemini, these are all tools like a calculator. How you use them depends upon you, and you always have to be in control of how you are using these tools ethically. So with that, I'm officially done with the presentation, and yeah, over to you, Riddhi.
Thank you so much. Very insightful, and I think, as you can see from lots of comments, lots of applause, it was truly insightful. We'll be moving to the Q&A session, but before that, I would just like to um, talk about two things. I know a lot of you asked about exploring Paperpal and your intent, and that some of you are already trying it out right now. As you can see on your screens, we have an exclusive PaperPal Prime offer running right now, where you can unlock the full PaperPal experience with at least 40% off on select Prime plans. And this is available until September 1st. So, yeah, if you are truly interested in exploring PaperPal, I would most definitely recommend that you go and check out this offer. Um, right. Just before we move to Q&A, just a quick note that your feedback means a lot to us. So you'll see a little feedback icon just right below the Q&A bit. We would love for you to uh, uh, share your voice, share what we can improve in these sessions, and make it more valuable as well for researchers like you. So yeah, definitely do take a minute to share your thoughts. And with that, let's open up the floor for question and answers again. So this time around, we had several questions, and what I've tried to do is just put them into specific themes. The first is, of course, we covered a lot on Research and Cite, and there were several very specific questions around these. So I'll go through them maybe one by one. So the first one is regarding Zotero. So you've mentioned Zotero, but does Paperpal integrate with any other citation management tools? And you also mentioned something about Cite feature on Word. So is it currently available on Word? And if you can give some more information regarding citation style manuals.
Great.
So, Shardul, do you want to?
Yeah, yeah. I'll answer that question. So currently, we don't have an integration with Zotero directly. So for example, if you're using Zotero and if you're looking to, let's say, get the references from Zotero onto Paperpal, so currently we lack an import function, but that is something that we are building. It's in the pipeline, and we'll definitely be there very soon. But that said, you have the ability to export references to Zotero if you're using Zotero as the central place for all your reference management. So in Research and Cite, let's say when you clicked on the library, you will find an export all button, or in the individual reference card on research, you will click on the three dots icon. You will be able to export a specific paper into one of the common formats that Zotero accepts. So that functionality is there. And to answer the question of, let's say, is the Cite feature also available in Word? Yes, it is available in Word, but the automatic linkage of references and citation, I'm sorry, the automatic linkage of references and citation, that is only available in web as of now. But we have cracked the problem. It's just a matter of releasing it out in the wild. So just one more month of patience, and you will already have it in Word as well. So yeah.
Awesome. And I think one more to add there. So would So this one is a little interesting. So they're asking, would Paperpal check the abstracts of papers from journals that are not open source? Uh, would Paperpal list sources for a particular subject um, where they are not checked or fully available? So basically, yeah, open source papers. Sorry, non-open source papers, are they included? And
Yeah.
in yeah, yeah.
So if you're referring to the research and cite feature in Paperpal, so if a particular paper is, let's say, open source and freely available under Creative Commons license, so you have access to the full text. But say a particular paper is paywalled, it's a journal article behind a paywall. So the answer will definitely consider the abstract and the title and the other metadata. It might not have access to the full text, but the abstracts will definitely be considered. So if you're asking a question and let us say the answer to your question lies in a paper that is behind a paywall, but if the answer is also available in its abstract, that paper will definitely show up. So it is not going to get selectively filtered out.
Awesome. So yeah, I think well, in the interest of time, we'll just go to another theme that emerged as well from among the questions, and which was support for not non-English languages.
Yeah.
So basically, there have been questions like, do we need to compulsorily write and communicate in English? Can you also write a paper in, say, a language like German or Arabic?
Yeah.
And yeah, so
So yeah, I think I missed out on this part, but the question is very valid, and thank you for asking that question. So yes, you can use Paperpal in any languages theoretically. So for example, if you are using the research feature or if you're using the write feature, so simply type in your question in your native language. So the AI is smart enough to also respond back in whatever input language you typed. But in the worst case, let's say the AI does not give you the output. Let's say you typed in an Arabic, but the AI is giving you in English. You can simply add an instruction at the end of your question to give you that output in Arabic. That is all that you have to do as a, let's say, like a safeguard. And the AI will respond back to you in whatever native language you choose. And this is true for practically all the features. So in chat PDF, if you want the responses to be in Arabic, you can simply ask your question, tell the AI, add an instruction, give me output in Arabic, give me output in Spanish, give me output in German. And when it comes to your rewrite features, if you are already written a particular paragraph in your native language, the rewrite features will not going to translate it to a different language. It will maximally preserve the source language. So that is also something that we have taken care of when we are building this particular feature. And if you are referring to the language editing and grammar functionality, that is only available for English. But again, I'm not very sure how many would be looking for grammar editing in other languages. But I hope I've answered that question. It's a good one. Thank you for asking that.
yeah, awesome. So I hope so questions we have specific people asking about translation into Arabic and things like that. So uh, we support. Correct me, Shardul. We support more
More
than
than 50 plus languages. So even the translate feature as a whole supports more than 50 plus languages. But let's say if you have a language where you are not able to find it in the translate feature, what you can again do is use the write feature. Simply select your text, go to write, type in your instruction that okay, translate it into so and so language. Because it's an AI, it's a pretty flexible AI. It should be able to translate it in whatever language that you have. So yeah, that is already taken care of.
awesome. Thank you so much. I think with that, we'd move to the last of the themes, which is surrounding security and concerns about what is happening to my documents. So there are a couple of questions that I'll read out in for that theme. So one is you said we can chat with PDFs I upload. Are these used to train your AI so that it would be a copyright infringement if I uploaded them? Or are they only available to me?
Good question. So your if in the context of chat PDF, when you upload a particular PDF to chat PDF functionality, the PDF only remains accessible to you. So nobody else on Paperpal will be able to access that PDF. That's point number one. The second thing is no, your PDF, any of the content that you use, that you generate, that you write on Paperpal, none of that is used to train any of the AI models. That's point number two. The third thing is you're always in control of, let's say, the documents that you upload and you create on Paperpal. So for example, if I uploaded a PDF, if I'm done with chatting with it, if I'm done extracting insight, I have the option to delete that particular PDF from there So I always remain in control. So I mean, the data security is something that we take very seriously, especially given that okay, there are a lot of concerns with AI use. So your data remains safe. Your data is never used to train any of the AI models. Your data does not go outside to any third party for training any other AI models. So that's very secure that way. So all those concerns need not happen. And maybe I'll also paste the data security page in the chat here so that you can take a look at a deep dive policy into it.
Yeah, awesome. I think with that, I think we come to the end of our session. It was awesome to really talk to all of you, to really go through the questions that came through, humbled by several questions that came through, and I hope we have been able to answer some of them. Several of you asked whether we can you can access some of these uh, walkthroughs or attend some of these demos. So if you are a registered user on Paperpal, you would most definitely receive emails. We conduct such demos, walkthroughs very regularly, and we hope to see some of you there. So yeah, a very big thank you for attending the session, and yeah, we wish you a good evening.
Yep. Thank you so much. Thank you very much, everyone. And I wish you all have a good day. Bye and take care.